Buki, please, can you also try, since you're going to be a co-host, can you try to download the I don't know, because you're a co-host, download the certificate so that at least you can share for me when I need to present it at the end of the presentation. Is that okay, Buki? Hello?
Hello, yes, sir. I was saying that, so I'll download the certificate to present to myself.
No, I said to share for me.
To share on the screen.
Mr. Dapo,
As long as it's on.
Kemi should help us do that.
Okay, if Kemi is a co-host, yeah, it's just, I don't know if Kemi is also on a laptop or phone, because if you're on phone, it's always difficult to share that thing, and I'm on the phone, I'm on the road, so that's why I'm looking for that option.
Okay.
No,
Maybe I should on my computer.
Yes, if it's on computer, it's easy to. While you're on phone, it's sometimes very difficult to share something like that, you know. So.
Okay, I will have to leave now so that I join with my computer.
Yeah, Buki, are you on your laptop?
No, I'm on my phone.
Oh, you're on phone as well. Okay,
yes.
That's fine.
But if it's on PDF, you can send it to me, then I'll download it.
Yeah, that's what I was on. That's what I was saying. I had already downloaded on my laptop, but now I'm on my phone, and I don't want to start struggling to look for it on my phone when I need to share.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah,
okay, no problem.
It's pretty difficult sometimes when you're sharing on the phone. All right, so I'll
once
call
it's
to
PDF, okay.
It's in PDF already. It's a PDF document.
And then to be easy for me to share.
Okay.
All right, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Dr. Harry, good morning.
Thank you, Daniel. Good morning.
Welcome, sir. How is the family?
Fine. Bless God.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.
So, Buki, just be on the background. Don't share anything. Kemi will help us out.
Okay, sir.
Hello, Mr. Dapo.
Yes, please. I'm here.
Okay, I want to join. I want to sign off from this my phone. I want to join with my laptop. So once I join, they should make me co-host again.
That's fine. I will make you co-host. I'm a host now, so I'll make you the co-host.
Okay, all right.
Nobody is still here. So are you introducing the meeting? It's 10 o'clock, or should I start?
No, you're gonna do all that for us.
Okay, that's fine. So
Thank you.
is it
Our
okay? I
president
think
promised
it's
to come in. I don't know if she's able to come in. She might just
okay.
need to give her own short address.
Yeah, to welcome people. Okay. Is it a platform that people join directly, or we need to accept people in?
No, they join directly.
Directly. Okay, so no acceptance, no waiting room. Okay.
Yes, no waiting.
Good
All
morning,
right.
coordinator and everyone.
Good morning, my president. How are you,
Good
ma'am?
morning, all.
Good morning, ma.
I'm good. Good morning, Mr. Dapo. Good morning,
Yeah.
Morning,
Ifuki. Well
madam.
done.
Good
Thank
morning,
you
ma'am.
so much. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, ma'am.
Appreciate.
All right. So it's 10 o'clock, so we just wait for a few more people. Good morning, everyone. You're welcome to the Young Emerging Professionals platform and knowledge sharing session for today. We'll just take another few minutes to see if we'll have a few more persons join us. So please bear with us. And for everyone joining now, please, good morning. Good morning. Please, basic ethics of the platform. Please, can we be mute until we have the opportunity to talk so that we can have some quiet on the platform? If you have to exchange greetings, you can use the chat room to do that while we wait for others to join us. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Okay, good morning once again. So once we hit it, in another 2 minutes, by 10:05, we will start so that we can also give this credibility to those who have joined earlier on. We hope we'll be able to have a good number, but I think we'll be starting at 10:05. So 2 more minutes and we'll start the program. Thank you once again for your time. Okay, sorry, Emmanuel, your hand is raised. Would you like to speak before we start? Emmanuel, your hand is raised. Emmanuel Suyak. If you'd like to say something, please can you do that? or you lower your hand, please. Okay, so once again, good morning. Madam President, do I have your permission to go ahead now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We could start.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So let's start. We have 14 of us on the platform. We hope others will join us very shortly. So good morning, professionals. Good morning, the executives that are present here. We are very glad to have you this morning. So thank you so much for coming to the Young Emerging Professional platform for our knowledge sharing session this morning. Thank you so much for joining us again for this beautiful day, and of course, a beautiful time for us to learn. We would like to encourage everyone who is here right now to please tell others that are not yet here if there's any reason for them not to be here. Let's invite them to join us now into the program as we start this program now this morning. Thank you so much. My name is Dapo Molade. I'm the coordinator of the Young Emerging Professional for the ASSP 2020-2021. And I'm glad to welcome everybody here from all over Nigeria, wherever you are joining us from. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's going to be a great time for those of us who attended the previous sessions. Since last year, we've been trying to dissect the HSE as a vocation or as a profession. And we've had some good presentation from some of our leaders on this platform on this very important topic. And today we are going to be looking at the environment part of it and the relevance of this. And we're very glad to have with us our presenter today, who also double as one of the coordinators or the support coordinator for the Young Emerging Professional. And by that, I mean Bukola. So we're going to have a great time. So thank you so much. At this junction, I would like to invite the Madam President for a welcome and opening remark before we move on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, our coordinator, Mr. Dakwa. Thank you. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. And thank you once more for finding our time to join the Young Emerging Professional platform and the knowledge sharing series we are having today. It's been wonderful, just as our coordinator said. For over time, we have tried to look at all the components as it relates to HSC, having the health, the safety, and today we'll be looking at the environment by no other person but our sister, Mrs. Bukola, who will be looking at the E, the environment as it relates to health and safety. So I am also looking forward to hearing from her. But in a nutshell, this is put together for us to be able to know that as HSC professionals, we're not focusing on only the S, which is a safety aspect. We should be able to know the relevance of what health is, and then the relevance of what the environment, which we're trying to learn today, is. It's been good so far. We had the past ones had been wonderful, and we know that at the end of today, we'll be glad that we all made our time to have this function. I will encourage you to always share and talk about Young Emerging Professionals, which is the common interest group that pulls us together with so much energy, looking at the future, how we can able to build our career. We have a lot in stock that will be coming after this series. We're going to be opening mentoring sections where mentors are going to come to you. The coordinators will put the platform together on how we'll be able to choose our mentors, that we that are the mentees go through the sections. Thank God we had something about the career. It's on the website. I will encourage all of us to download that material and read it on career paths. A lot of us are already on a particular part of our interest. So we'll get mentors that would follow us through. That program will be on. We'll also be having a seminar that will be coming up in March as well. So there will be a lot of programs for young emerging professionals that would help enhance our career. So tell others about us. I want to thank Mr. Abano especially for putting people into the platform. publishing job alerts and all that. These are one of the benefits we have when we come together as a group. So on behalf of the coordinator and the executive, I welcome you all to this section once more, and I look forward to many other sections and meeting you all in subsequent events. Thank you very much and have a blessed day. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Madam President, for that very good remark. And indeed, this platform is one of the very important and very unique platform for the SSP, for all of us to grow. It's a platform for growth, for career empowerment, and for us to share very good information on how we can continue to be relevant in this industry. So thank you so very much. I would like to call our speaker, like I mentioned from start, is one of us, a very dedicated young woman who has been at the forefront of health and safety and environment, and doing quite a lot in the SSP and other professional bodies that I've seen her. But before we invite her to share her screen and start this session with us, I would like to call on Kemi to please introduce our speaker for today.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dapo. Okay, so I would like to introduce Bukunola Ayo. Bukunola Ayo is a health and safety and environmental professional with practical experience of working on international projects, production sites, and corporate centers for over 10 years. Her experience covers environmental microbiology, laboratory testing, field operations, report writing, writing policies, procedures, reports, carrying out trainings at all levels, risk assessment, and presentation of health and safety summaries. She's a strongly self-motivated and can respond flexibly and creatively to new challenges and opportunities. So I humbly welcome Bukunola Ayo to start our presentation now. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that brief introduction. I hope you can all see my screen.
Absolutely, yes. Thank you very much, we can.
Okay, so I don't intend to take so much of our time, but as much as possible, it's going to be a jolly ride for each and every one of us. As it was previously said, we started some months ago with the relevance of the elements of health, safety, and environment. We went into the relevance of health, went into the relevance of safety, and today we'll be looking at the relevance of the environment. So just some learning points, some things that we'll go home with. We'll have the introduction. We'll also look at the environmental aspects, environmental safety, environmental management, and the conclusion. So in introduction, the environment, as we know, is the most vital part of health and safety as it looks into the immediate areas of the organization's activities. By focusing on the prevention of legal, moral, social, and economic liabilities to the advantage of the organizations. The environmental aspect of health and safety examines the systems that can be employed to reduce the risk employees are exposed to in the organization by considering the waste, fumes or gases, dangerous chemicals, and other potential threats to the health and safety of the employees. As we know, most of the time in the workplace, we keep saying safety, 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 safety. But the environmental aspect is a part that it cannot be overlooked and it cannot be underrated at the same time. Because even if you have a safe environment or a safe workplace, but the environment is filled with waste, or you have a lot of gases, and even apart from dangerous gases, you also have some chemicals spilled on the ground and the rest. When you look at all those things, they could be so much of a source of distraction, and even it could cause illnesses. But as we go forward in this session, we'll see more and we'll be able to know why the environment is so important in health, safety, and environment. So in this session, we'll go through the different ways that we can take care of the environment. We'll look at the roles of the environment in health and safety, and how we can create an environmentally friendly workplace to promote safety. As we know, a lot of people are going green. A lot of places now, they are going green. When you look at some places, even some vehicles that are being manufactured now, when you look at it, you see eco-friendly. So, and that brings us to the environmental aspect. So we'll be taking a cue from clause 6.1.2 of ISO 14001 2015 standard, which is just talking about having a defined scope of the environmental management system. That when you have a defined scope of the environmental management system, it is the responsibility of the organization to determine the environmental aspects of its activities, products, and services. So for everything that an organization does, it should look into the environmental aspect. If it has something to do with emission of gases into the atmosphere, it should look at it that, okay, what kind of gases are being emitted? Will it be harmful to the atmosphere or not? If it has anything to do with water discharges, that discharge of water, is it going to be harmful to the environment? All those things should be considered. And while considering that, the organization should also take into account that there could be changes, there could be new developments, there could even be new plants, modified activities, products, and services. As we know very well that as the world is evolving and changing, new things are coming out. And when we look at the systems of work, the way jobs are being carried out now, I don't think they were the same with the way jobs were previously carried out. Like a typical example is storage of information when using a computer. Previously, we used to store information on diskettes, but we moved from storage of information on diskettes to storage of information on different forms of memory sticks. From memory sticks, now we even have different forms of external hard drives that we use. And apart from external hard drives, we can now even store information on our phone. So all these new developments, it's not just about the system of work, but the new developments also come into play even when an organization is planning out or developing its environmental system. And it's very important that the organization should be able to determine the aspects that have or can have a significant environmental impact. And these environmental impacts could be positive or negative. And again, while determining the significant environmental impacts, the organization should have a document. It should maintain a documented information. So there should be a document showing that, okay, we have checked this process and we have seen that this process has an impact on the environment in this aspect or in that aspect. Then also, there should be a way of looking into the environmental aspects and the associated environmental impacts. So when you look at the aspects, you should be able to know that, okay, when exposed to this or exposed to that, this is the way that it has an impact on the environment. And there should also be a criteria that is being used to determine the significant environmental aspect. So by the time you have looked at your job, maybe it's the organization has something to do with breweries, like in Port Harcourt, where we have the Parbod breweries. Sometimes when you pass by that place, there are some kind of fumes that you perceive. Even when you look at their vents, you see different types of gases being emitted into the environment. So all those things, the organization now should be able to check and look at it that, okay, the emission of gases, what kind of gases are being emitted into the environment, and what impact will those gases have on the environment. So this is just a picture showing us a system being used to identify the environmental aspects and impacts of a manufacturing process. So as we can see in the middle, there's a box showing the unit operation. Then on the left, we have an arrow coming in the raw materials. And majority of the, if not all the raw materials, come directly or indirectly from the environment. Then on top, we have an arrow going out showing gaseous emissions. Then there are products, there are byproducts. Also too, you have wastewater, liquid waste, solid waste. Then on the other hand, on the outlets, there's reusable waste and there's recycle. So what they're trying to say now is they've looked at their wastewater, they've looked at the liquid waste, and they've seen that, okay, to an extent, those wastewaters and liquid waste could be recycled back into the system. Then on the other hand, we have catalysts, water, air, and energy all going into the unit operation. So we can see that everything is interwoven. So no part can exist on its own. Everything works together. And very importantly, for organizations, they should be able to look into your activities and see that you make sure that whatever you're doing, the environment is not impacted in a way that the future generation won't be able to see some beautiful things that we are seeing now. So here we just have a table showing us a sample of what an organization should have if they don't have this in their records. So we have the process, we have the aspects, and we have the impacts. So for example, we have the first process is storage of fuel in tanks. These tanks could either be above the ground or under the ground. But what's the aspect? While you store the fuel in the tank, there's a potential for leakage or spill. Then in the event that leakage or spill happens, what then happens to the environment? What is the impact of the environment? There's contamination of soil or underground water. And that's why on the aspect of contamination of underground water, you notice that sometimes you go to some places and you ask for maybe a glass of water. And when it's given to you, you can't really enjoy that glass of water because maybe it has a funny smell or it has a funny taste. By the time you go deep into it, you could maybe see that water was taken from a place that was not properly treated. So the next is car washing as a process. So what do you do when you're washing the car? You make use of water, you make use of cleaning agents. And in the process, that water and the cleaning agent, that mixture now, there's a potential that it could have an impact on the natural resources. Because if you keep making use of water so much, and maybe you're in a place that you always have to keep pumping water, you have a borehole, you now make use of the water, and going by the Nigerian factor, there's power failure. You use up the water in the tank. Then use up the water in the tank for washing your car. And after using up the water in the tank for washing your car, you want to make use of water for something else. You find out that the tank is empty. But what? There's power failure. You can't pump water to replace it. So you have to start looking for other sources. There's also a potential for water pollution. And when water pollution occurs, because of the cleaning agents, if it's a place that has rivers or ponds, in some cases, you find out that there's even algal bloom. You have excess growth of water hyacinth, excess growth of fungi, and for the aquatic life, there's a struggle for survival. Apart from that, the next process too that we could look at is transportation of goods using motor vehicles. The aspect is use of oil-based fuels, and that's why now some people are coming up with different inventions. There was a time I was watching the TV and I saw that somebody invented a solar vehicle, a vehicle running on solar energy. Some countries now, like in China, they're even trying to face off vehicles that make use of petroleum products, and they're going more into electrical vehicles. And you have different places like that. Then there's emission of carbon dioxide and also emissions of particulate matter, all from the vehicles. So what does this do to the environment? We have unsustainable losses of natural resources. There's climate change via global warming. And it also has an impact on human health, especially people prone to respiratory ailments. Like I remember when there was a high record of these black suits in Port Harcourt. It was so bad that even when you sneeze and you use a hanky to cover your nose, you would see the black substance on it, showing that we're exposed to a lot of contaminated air. And the next one is spray painting with oil-based paints and solvents. So it leads to the emission of solvents into the air, contamination of the land, global warming and ozone depletion, and land pollution. On the aspect of global warming and ozone depletion, that's why right now companies are going into the manufacturing or making paints or other products that don't have chlorofluorocarbons present in it to reduce this aspect of having an effect on global warming and ozone depletion. Then the next process is heating, which we have leads to emission from boilers and air pollution. When all these gases, there are different kinds of gases that are being emitted. And in the process, while all these emissions are taking place in the atmosphere, apart from ozone layer depletion, global warming, we could also have some cases of acid rain. All those things are parts of our own impact on the environment. So we have the negative impact and the positive impacts. For the negative impacts, based on the activity of the organization, it could lead to environmental spill. But the positive impact now is that if the organization has a documented record showing the environmental aspects, the impacts, and the likes, and even up to ratios, when such is being done, it will help the organization now to look at the regulatory levels, look at the different compliance levels that have been placed in, conduct adequate tests. And by doing that, when the organization is able to go in line with what is the regulatory requirement, they'll be able to avoid environmental spills. Then the next is negative public image. When we look at the case of Shell, some days ago we heard about the court ruling in The Hague that compensation should be paid by Shell BP to the Ogoni people. Why was that made? Because there is series of environmental pollution in Ogoni, and the Ogoni people could not take it again, and they filed a case against Shell. But now, when an organization looks into the environmental aspects and they are able to follow the details to the letter, they would even have improved public relations because people will be able to speak well about them. For air pollution as a negative impact, when the organization is able to look into the different records and know the different regulatory requirements, conduct regular air quality tests, they will be able to reduce the emission of different gases into the atmosphere. Then we have hazardous materials being produced. You could go back now to the hierarchy of controls and check to see if you could change the system of work. Eliminate that particular system. Instead of using some materials that you know that are hazardous to the environment, you can eliminate that system of the hazardous material and change to biodegradable materials, so that even as you make use of what you are doing, carry out your activities, all those materials that are being dumped in the environment will not have an adverse effect on the environment. Then we have ozone layer depletion. As I previously said, we should avoid materials that contain chlorofluorocarbons, so that we can avert that issue of ozone layer depletion. Then we have water pollution. For organizations, before discharging water into the environment, always run tests, carry out water analysis. By carrying out water analysis, you'll be able to know if that water, the contents of the water, the heavy metal content, the alkalinity level, the salinity level of that water sample is up to the DPR requirements, the DPR required level for discharge of water into water bodies, into the environment. Then for the landfill, a landfill with sludge, you could also look at a way of recycling the sludge through the production of secondary liquid fuels from the sludge. And that brings us to environmental safety. Environmental safety deals with the practices, the policies, and procedures that ensure the safety and well-being of personnel in the immediate work area of the organization. So now we are not just talking about outside the work area now, but we are talking of what happens environmentally within the organization. And environmental safety, as we can see, is splitted or into three major areas. There are three major areas that make up environmental safety. The first area is occupational safety and health practices, which focuses on the reduction of exposure of personnel to environmental hazards. So when you look at it, like when I was working in an environmental lab, sometimes you look at the levels of exposure, then we used to work with a lot of chemicals. So maybe if you're working with something like hydrochloric acid, you won't just pick the bottle containing hydrochloric acid and start your job with it. You have to make sure that you put on the appropriate personal protective equipment. You have the acid-resistant hand gloves on. You have your, instead of using just an ordinary nose mask, you make use of the respirator. You have the respirator on, because the filters of the respirator are smaller than that of the nose mask. Because even while making use of your PPEs, you have to make sure that that PPE is specific for the job task that is being carried out. And you also make use of your eye goggles in case of any splash, so that you don't get injured. The next aspect is environmental control, which looks at the aspect of protecting the personnel by preventing pollution and other natural threats. So on this aspect, like when I was working in the laboratory, to prevent pollution, what do? You're working with maybe a chemical like xylene. You take it to the fume hood. You put on the extractor. So instead of the laboratory to be filled with the fumes of a chemical like xylene, the extractor contained in the fume hood sucks up those fumes and takes it out safely, takes it out of the laboratory safely, thereby preventing pollution. And the next aspect is chemical safety, which just focuses on proper handling of chemicals through safe storage, use, and disposal. When you are handling chemicals, you should know the kind of chemicals that you can store together in a particular place. You should know even the different types of gases that you should store together to avoid explosion. So now that we have seen the different aspects of environmental safety, what are the environmental hazards that we're exposed to and the different control measures? The first is the physical hazard, which could be exposure to floods, exposure to landslides, and the like. And the impact is we have the collapse of buildings and even loss of life. And the control measure is plant vegetation to retain excess water and construction of retention ponds. So I know that there was a time that there was this environmental slogan that plant a tree to save a life. So the more you have vegetation around you, it also helps to retain excess water. Not just retaining excess water, it can even help you to trap some of all these gases. Apart from trapping the gases, even up to this issue of air pollution, like the black soot and the rest, the leaves of the plant can also help to trap all of those things. So for the biological hazard, exposure to biological hazards could lead to diseases, it could lead to respiratory problems, different kinds of respiratory problems. And the control, you shouldn't just look at somebody from head to toe and say, this person is healthy, this person is okay. As an employer, it is the duty of the employer to conduct routine medical checks. You could even make it quarterly, just to make sure that your personnel are in top shape. To avoid excessive waste that could lead to the formation of mucor, different kinds of fungi, and even those wastes too could harbor different types of bacteria. To avoid that, you make sure that there is good housekeeping within the organization, and always make sure that you use your PPE, not just making use of the PPE, but making use of a job-specific PPE. That's that personal protective equipment you are using is specific for that particular job task. The next is the chemical hazard, and the impact on exposure is irritation and carcinogenicity. Irritation, it could cause burns on your skin. It could even, in some cases, it could even affect your breathing, lead to respiratory problems too. And if it stays long in your body, it could also lead to formation of cancerous cells in the body. On the control measure, there should be training on proper handling of chemicals. And as you conduct the training on proper handling of chemicals, the organization should have a document that gives different safety protocols on how to handle the chemicals. And every chemical comes with the material safety data sheet from the from the manufacturer. And the organization can also create the safe handling of chemicals card, or the safe handling of chemicals, also known as shock cards. You can also create the shock cards and keep it close to each of those chemicals, so that any of the personnel that wants to make use of it, you would know at a glance that, okay, for this chemical, this is how I should carry it. In the event of a spill, this is what I should do. In the event of breakage of the bottle, this is how it should be contained. For unseen hazards, for example, noise, we know that noise is a problem everywhere, not only in the workplace, even outside. But now, going back to the workplace, there are some of us that while receiving phone calls, we don't know how to receive calls in public places. Instead of receiving the calls quietly, we just talk on top of our voices. Then apart from that too, if you are working in a facility that makes use of a lot of turbines, definitely you'll be exposed to different levels of noise that could be high. And that can lead to hearing loss. This hearing loss can be permanent and it can be temporary. So it's important that when you're working in such an environment, you should make use of ear protection and also adhere to the different safety protocols that have been laid down for working in such an environment. We also have ergonomic hazards. The ergonomic hazards now occurs in different ways. It can occur at your workstation. Maybe your workstation is not properly laid out. We can also look at manual handling for people that their jobs mainly has to do with lifting and dropping of different levels of load. And this manual handling or ergonomic hazard can lead to disabling injuries that affect the joints and muscles. And again, these disabling injuries, it could be permanent and it could be temporary. So all those things, we need to put them into consideration. And how do you do that? First of all, you make sure that the heavy loads are properly labeled. And even where you store the equipment, you should label properly, because sometimes you want to reach an equipment or you want to collect an equipment, but it is placed at a height that you cannot reach. Instead of making use of a ladder, you start stretching. In the process of stretching to try to reach that equipment, you could also stretch your muscles or even stretch your tendons and cause injury to yourself. And the organization or the management too should conduct regular trainings on safe work posture. The next environmental hazard is electrical hazard. Like in construction sites, even sometimes when we go out on the roads and you see these construction workers carrying out their job, when they're passing through a power line, you'll notice that at times there's somebody with something like a wooden pole that has a hook on top that they use to lift the wires up so that maybe the vehicle could pass, or maybe somebody that is on top of the vehicle will not get electrocuted in the process. So to prevent electrocution, the best bet or the best thing that should be done is, first of all, there should be safe work protocols when carrying out a job related to electricity. Then you should use the electrical protective devices. So coming back again to using your job specific personal protective equipment, and there should also be guarding. So as much as possible, you should see to it that there is no way you can be directly exposed to that source of electricity. And what is the importance of environmental safety in the workplace? Embedding environmental safety measures in the organization's activities leads to prevention of accidents. Because when you bring all those things into play in the organization's activities, it now helps to prevent the occurrence of accidents. By preventing the occurrence of accidents, when you don't have accidents in the workplace, what now happens? You find out that the staff have even a better morale while carrying out their job because they know what their work environment is safe. The organization too, we have better productivity because they won't be paying so much medical bills. There will be reduced level of medical treatment cases. There would also be a reduction in the payment of compensation. There will be reduction in lawsuits and other liabilities. the employee, who is the most valued asset of the organization, because even if an organization has state-of-the-art equipment, state-of-the-art materials, if there are no employees to make use of those equipment, then that organization will not stand firm. Because even if you have robots, it's not everything that the robots can do for you. So the most valuable assets of that organization, the employees, will be protected. Why? Because systems have been put in place to keep their work environment safe. And the organization itself will have an improved public image. A typical example is maybe you go to an eatery, and when you get into the place, the customers area looks so beautiful, ambient environment and all that, and you'll be telling yourself, oh, the food from this place is going to be so delicious and all that. Now let me even see if I can take a sneak peek inside the kitchen. And what happens? You go to the kitchen, then you see puddles and puddles and puddles of water on the ground in the kitchen. Apart from seeing puddles of water on the ground in the kitchen, you now notice that one of the people that is maybe cutting meat, for example, the person cutting meat stuck the finger in the nose. After sticking the finger in the nose, the person just cleaned the hand or the finger on the apron, did not wash it off, and used that same hand with that same finger that was stuck in the nose to hold the meat to continue from where the person was cutting. After seeing such a thing, as a visitor, you would not want to even order for food from that kind of place. So, but when the environment outside is ambient, the kitchen area is also good, that will help the public to say, oh, when they are talking about them, they'll be able to say, oh, yes, this place, actually, their food is good, their environment is clean, both the customer area and even the kitchen area. And that brings us to environmental management. This is the management of the interaction and impact of human activities on the natural environment. So everything that we do, directly or indirectly, it still goes back to the natural environment. And why do we need environmental management? We need it for the development of systems to ensure that there's a reduction in pollution. There's also, you now look at it that the natural resources are not overused in the process, and nature is not degraded in any way and in any aspect. Like the recent fires, the fires that they had in Australia last year, it was a devastating one because a lot of their vegetation were destroyed. Even some of the animals, some animals that are endangered species that are only found in Australia, were also at risk. So all those things are things we need to put into consideration. And even when we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, especially the goals from 12 to 15, we would see that UNEP also looked into the area of protecting the environment. For goal 12, it's talking about ensuring sustainable consumption and production patterns. So that means whatever it is that you are doing, you have to make sure that whatever you are giving out to the environment, you are not giving out something that will now have an adverse effect on the environment. For goal 13, it is talking about the urgent action to combat climate change and its impacts. For those of us that live in the south, somewhere like Port Harcourt, you notice that even by this time of the year, you won't really be talking about rains. but we've started seeing rains. Then when we go to the Arctic regions, you notice that now there's already a problem there. A lot of the glaciers are melting faster than before, which has now led companies, organizations, and different environmentalists and different bodies around the world to see how safer systems can be created so that fossil fuels, the rate at which we make use of fossil fuels can be reduced, thereby also reducing greenhouse gases emissions into the environment. The next is conservation of the oceans, seas, and marine resources. Since the advent of COVID-19, a lot of environmentalists even started complaining. Why? Because of disposable nose masks, the rate at which it is being discarded. There was a video I saw one time on National Geographic that they were talking about proper use and dispose of waste. And the next thing they showed was a fish that was rescued with a nose mask on its body. So all these things now, as we are looking at renewable energy, we also look at ways of conserving and sustaining the natural resources. We reduce the level of ocean acidification due to waste discharges into the ocean. We also try to reduce the level of oil pollution. When we do that, it would also help us to save the ocean, save the water bodies, and still create a better environment for the future generations. Then we need transition. There should be serious transition in the rate at which we carry out our jobs, our different activities. The next aspect is sustainable management of the forests, combating desertification, which will now help us to halt and reverse land degradation and halt biodiversity loss. So when we are able to create systems that helps us to manage land resources, it also helps us to mitigate climate change, mitigate desertification, and also enhance sustainable development. Because why? The world is evolving, things are moving, and there are generations coming after us. So we shouldn't just keep doing things for ourselves, but we should think of the future. Then, still in a way of creating systems and creating processes to help, the environmental management system was set up. And what is the main aim of the environmental management system? Like that of ISO 14001, 2015 standards. It specifies requirements for an effective environmental management system by providing a framework that an organization can follow rather than establishing environmental performance and requirements. So it's not just saying that, oh, we have done this for the environment, we have done that for the environment, and that. Not just saying that we've done this, we've done that, but there should be a framework, there should be a system in place that the organization should be able to follow. The environmental management system is important because it helps the organization to comply with state and federal regulations or legislations. It also helps the organization to have plans for different emergency situations and protect public health and safety through procedures to limit or eliminate harmful substances. So this system is all encompassing for the organization. Because just as you're looking at the protection of the environment, it also helps the organization to comply with state and federal legislation. And when you comply with state and federal legislation, what happens to the organization? You find out that there's a reduction in payouts. So you'll be able to have more productivity and even still conserve your resources. So we have the ISO 14001 EMS framework, the image here, which starts from the auditable elements of the ISO standard, which is the context of the organization. We have leadership, we have planning, and even planning. The ISO aspect, the aspect that was quoted at the beginning of this presentation, is from planning, telling us that even while the management meets to set up systems, to see how they can go about setting up systems for the organization's activities, they should include the environmental aspect in their planning process. Then there is support, there is operation, there's performance evaluation, and there's improvement. So it's a continuous cycle. As you start from the context of the organization, you go to improvement. You don't just stop at improvement. You go back to the context of the organization, because it has to be a continuous process. And the simple framework of everything is the plan, do, check, and act system. So there should be a system of planning. Apart from the system of planning, then how do you carry out the operations? That is doing it. Then performance evaluation and the likes, which is check. Then you now have improvements. Now you have checked your process, you have seen the different levels of improvement. Now, based on those improvements that you have gotten, you act on the different things that you have gotten, and you go back. After acting, you go back to planning again. So by going in that circle of plan, do, check, and act, it helps that organization to go with the current trends of systems in the organization. As you're flowing with the current trends of systems in the organization, you're also improving activities in your organization and protecting the lives of your employees, because the employees have to go back home safer and even better than the way they were when they came to work. So the benefits of environmental management in an organization are enormous, but a few of them are: one, there's a reduction in environmental incidents and improved reputation. The workforce, on the other hand, they become focused, knowledgeable, and motivated through training, because you have trained them. They have looked at the implementation of those things that they have been trained upon, the environmental trainings that they have carried out. They have looked at the impact on their job, and they've been able to see for themselves that yes, it is important for us to maintain the status quo. So they just, not only do they become focused, they become knowledgeable and they become motivated, because who wants to work in an environment that every day you go to work and your heart is in your hand that, God, oh, I don't know whether there will be any accidents today. And the next is improvement in regulatory performance, and therefore lower risk of fines for non-compliance with environmental legislation. When you have been able to look at the different regulatory requirements and you put systems in place to make sure that whatever you do flows or goes in line with the regulatory requirements, you will not have any reason to pay fines for non-compliance, because even when the regulators come, they look at the physical activities, they look at your documents, they will be able to say, oh yes, this person is in compliance. Okay, yes, good. That's what they'll just tick for you. And there is increased profits from lower costs. When you are not paying for compensation for a personnel that compensation to the family of a personnel that lost the life. You are not paying for different levels of medical cases, occupational health cases, that maybe somebody went to work, got exposed to hazardous fumes, and in the process, the person then developed respiratory disorders. The organization will have to pay because it's an occupational illness. Now, when you are not paying for medical treatment cases, you are not paying for non-compliance with the environmental legislation, you are not paying compensation to the family of a personnel that lost their life in the course of the job. When you look at all of that, definitely there will be an increase in profit and increase in productivity. And the environmental management system in an organization provides opportunity for attracting more customers, investors, and shareholders, because no investor wants to put the money in a place that there won't be returns. Most investors want to put their money in places that they know that they can have returns. Customers want to have that confidence in your job, that confidence in the service that you render to them. And even the shareholders too. They want a situation that by the time you come back to give your report as a manager, you'll be able to tell them, oh, at the beginning of this year, we started with about 50 million naira. But and now at the end of the year, looking at the activities and everything, we are happy to tell you that what we have in the company's account is 150 million. All those things. So it may cost a lot for the organization to put the environmental management systems in place. But again, it will also do the organization a great deal of good when they start seeing their profits and increase in productivity. So in conclusion, the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it, by Robert Swan. Thank you very much. Hello.
Thank you, Buki.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I was trying to get my network back. Thank you so much, Buki. And what a comprehensive knowledge we have gained this morning. I want to say thank you to Buki for this very beautiful, beautiful presentation. I think can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you so much for that presentation, Buki. I think it's quite exhaustive. And I'm sure a lot of us here have learned from this presentation on the relevance of the E in the HSC. I don't know if you have questions. We've looked at the chat room to see if anybody have posted any question there. We don't have yet. Do we have comments? Do we have questions? Can we have that in the few minutes that we have left in this presentation? Questions, please. Contributions. Kemi, please, can you take that for us and see if we have questions and contributions? Kemi, please.
Okay. Please, if you have any question, kindly drop it in the chat room, or if you want to raise up your hand, that's fine. Okay, may I have one question, Buki? My question is, for the black suits that we face in River State, how can we eliminate this completely?
Well, I know that there was a time that Nigeria Environmental Society had a partnership with River State government, and they conducted a lot of tests. As at that point in time, came up with reports. They were able to go as far as discovering that there were some illegal refineries that were mining in some parts. They were able to shut down some of them. But the basic thing now is organizations too have to look into their systems, because time and time again, the Nigeria Environmental Society River State branch has seen that a lot of some of these organizations may not be going in line with the regulatory requirements for emissions into the environment. So it's still an ongoing investigation, and I believe that as it continue, we'll get to a point that we'll get to the root and the black suit will stop.
Okay, thank
Kemi, I
you.
hope I've answered your question.
Yes, you have. Thank you so much. Okay, so okay, someone just dropped that with the presentation slide be available.
It will be on the ASSP website, ASSP Nigeria website.
Okay.
Mm. The media
Okay, we can't hear you again.
I said the media team and secretariat will take care of that.
Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, let me just come in here. The presentation is recorded live on YouTube, so we encourage participants to go back there to rewatch at any time because it's archived there.
Okay. Thank you, Daniel. Okay, there's one question from Sunny here. It says, please can okay, we have answered the question for the presentation slide, so you can always check the ASSP YouTube channel for that. Okay, so his second question is, please, those of us were not in the earlier lectures, still go to the YouTube um, to watch that. Please, we have 5 minutes for questions, so please, we are waiting for everyone to please ask questions. We just have a few comments that wonderful presentation. So Buki, thank you once again.
I think Mark Morris wants to say a few comments. Mark Morris has sent a chat that he has a few comments.
Okay, Mark Morris, can you unmute yourself and speak, please?
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes, please.
Yes,
All right.
can hear you.
All right. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you to Bookie. Your presentation was really, really wonderful. I didn't stay up in vain. I really have had a great time. Just a couple of comments. I just honestly, you said virtually everything, but I mean, there's always going to be a few things to add. Knowledge is vast. So yeah, I just wanted to say that yeah, in terms of environments, as we all know, charity they say begins at home. So like you mentioned, ISO 14001 gives companies a framework to define their scope. And the moment they're able to define their scope, it's going to give them a foundation to build upon when it comes to the environmental aspects and impacts. So basically, if companies understand how to control their aspects, they'll be able to mitigate every environmental impact that they're supposed to have, and that's so they'll be able to protect the workers, they'll be able to protect their own immediate environment, and they'll be able to protect the environment at large. So basically, doing all of that is going to take a lot of understanding of their own, you know, raw materials, their own job process, and controlling all of that within their own environment while utilizing all of the hierarchy of controls, like you said. But the problem we have with all of that is that a lot of companies these days actually focus on PPEs, and when you go through the hierarchy of control, PPEs is the last resort. A lot of companies tend to, um, not go through the elimination, which is the best, and then substitution before engineering controls like isolation and enclosures and all of that. They just tend to do the administrative controls, and then the PPEs, which is actually not helping at all. If I mean, I don't know, but I'm sure it's not helping. It's doing a bit, but it's it can be better. Yeah, so to speak, it can be better. And then when you talked about the PDCA cycle, the cyclical process of the PDCA, I just want to say that yeah, it's a process that goes on and on. The moment you get to the check, and then when you check your process, you check your activities. If because I mean, from the beginning of every process, you have to have a scope, right? Every company has a scope of what they want to, and they set the target they want to make for the environment and all of that. So when they get to the check stage, when they check and their productions and their processes meet the scope, I think the do becomes the new normal. But when the process do not meet the scope, that means they're falling short of their own target, of their own scope. They have to check and then review the whole process. That's why it goes on and on and on and on until, I mean, the goal is to do better, right? So until you're able to do better and protect the environment at large. And then furthermore, just the last thing, the work environment as well entails the company itself, like the organization itself. It's not, it doesn't before it transcends to the general environment. And like I said from the beginning, charity begins at home. If companies, can understand their own processes and control their own environmental aspects, they'll be able to mitigate every other environmental impacts they're supposed to have, and that's going to go in a very long way to help every one of us. And again, the owners, the meat of the whole process of the whole thing lies with the organization. They have the most power to do all of that. I just hope someday everyone's going to be get on the same board and make a safer workplace and environment for every one of us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mark Morris. Any other comments or question?
Okay, thank you so very much, Kemi. And thank you for the comments, the questions, and the feedback. Once again, I would like to say a very big thank you to Buki for that beautiful presentation. I'm happy this recording is available for us to listen and listen again and have good knowledge of the relevance of environment in the whole process of what we are doing. Thank you so much. Of course, as our custom and tradition is in SSP, we are very excited to celebrate and to thank those who have impacted us one way or the other. So on that note, I would like to thank Buki Ayo for the presentation by presenting our certificate of recognition. So this certificate of recognition is presented to Bukunola Ayo for volunteering in ASSP Nigerian chapter as a speaker on relevance of E in HSE during the Young Emerging Professionals YP session number 3 of February 6, 2021. Thank you so very much. Presented by American Society of Safety Professional Nigerian chapter. Thank you so very much, Buki, for this. You can
And
say thank you to her.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I've been admiring other people's certificates. Now I have my own.
That's very good. Thank you so much. So
Thank
you
you.
we can also say thank you to Buki through the emoticons and all the things that you like to say, but I think she deserves to be appreciated for this today. Thank you so much, Buki, for that. We're getting close to the end of this presentation now, and I would like to okay, thank you. So I would like to do a closing remark, but before that, I don't know if the president is still on the call. If there's anything she would like to say before we end this meeting with a closing remark. Madam President, please. She she on the call?
I don't think she's here.
Okay, I think she's out. Okay, that's fine. All right. So, okay, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir, for helping us. You've been a partner in progress and moving the HSE profession forward. I just want to remind our participants that the registration for our PDC is still open. If you have a need for a letter to your organization to release you for the conference, do let us know. We'll definitely do you a letter. Also encourage you to register on time so that it will help us in planning better for the PDC. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Daniel, for that reminder again. The PDC is close to us.
Hello, Mr. Dapo, are you still there?
I'm here. You can't hear me?
Yes, we
No, I
lost
can
you for
hear
a
you
while.
now.
Oh, no. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you now.
We can hear you
Okay.
now.
All right. Thank you. So on behalf of the Young Emerging Professionals ASSP 2020-21 year, and also of ours of ASSP Nigerian chapter, I would like to say thank you to everyone who has been part of this knowledge sharing today. I strongly believe that it has been a very interesting and very impactful time for all of us that have participated in this session. Would like to use this opportunity to say thank you and also to invite you for our next session, both at the SSP chapter level and also at the YEP. We look forward to seeing you next time and be part of this knowledge sharing. Thank you and God bless. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.